Broadcasting live from...
You mean podcasting, right?
Actually, I kind of like that. Let's do it. Podcasting live
And lit.
from the weed-smoking studios of WSRadio.com. We're only 20 minutes away from 420, and you know what that means. It's time for the wide world of weed. This exclusive podcast was created by the Dream Maker and the real Sammy C and streams weekly each and every Saturday afternoon right here on WS Radio. And now, two dudes who will never bogart a joint because they believe in peace, love, equality, staying high and happy. It's your pot jockeys, Greene Weaver and Night Tripper. Howdy, buckaroos. It's your friendly neighborhood pot jockey, Greene Weaver, back for another episode of the Wide World of Weed with fellow friend and super sativa hero, Night Tripper. What's up, Night? How are you, man?
Well, I'm doing great, Sam. How are you? I mean, Greene.
Doing great, man. Thank you. Anyway, you know the big game tomorrow.
Yeah, the big football championship.
Yeah, and I think we should name this episode the Sativa Bowl.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, to celebrate, I've got this bowl loaded up with some nice sativa.
Sativa bowl.
Too bad this isn't on video. You know what? I haven't gotten high since January 12th.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Why so long?
I'm taking a tolerance break, like a big tolerance break, and I don't know how many days that is. Actually, how many days is that? From the 12th to, what's today, the 2nd?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know, it's about 20 days maybe. And I wanted to reset my tolerance clock, and that's a very important topic that I want to talk about a lot here on the Wide World of Weed. As a matter of fact, let's talk about that for a couple of minutes, but maybe not right now. I do want to have a couple hits off this vape pen, and that's the first thing I want to talk about as we hang out here with all our pot buddies on a rainy San Diego Saturday. And Night, I know you're a longtime ganja fan.
Yeah.
And as you know, I mean, we've known each other for several years, if not several decades.
Yeah.
And you know that we never talked about pot, ever. Because it wasn't cool, it was illegal.
Well, for me, it was always cool.
Well, I know, but it wasn't cool to talk about it.
It wasn't cool for you because you were influenced by the world that said, don't smoke pot.
Exactly.
I rebelled against that world.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I wish you had let me join your revolution, and I would have rebelled with you, man. I'm so glad I finally discovered it now. But anyway, I wanted to talk about, let me have another hit off this bong.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the big game this weekend, the big NFL championship. That's this weekend. It's February 2nd. The game's tomorrow, February 3rd. A lot to talk about because it ties in with pot.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, so some national news regarding that whole situation.
Yeah,
and
the network running, the networks change every year as to who's playing
They
the
all
Super
get
Bowl.
turns.
Yeah, exactly. Well, CBS has their turn this year, and they pulled an ad. You know how Super Bowl ads are the biggest thing, like partly for the people who don't care about football, but they'll watch the game anyway.
Right, because everybody watches it. Even if they've never watched a football game the entire year,
right?
They all sit down and tune in,
or they'll
check the commercials out and check out.
Or they go to a nightclub and watch it, or a sports bar.
A sports bar, right.
Yeah, and the game is going to be running through 7 p.m., so Pacific time, so Eastern time, 10 p.m.
Does the audience on that game go up every single year pretty much?
Pretty much.
Increases at least a couple percent?
The TV audience usually does, but I think the record peak was a few years ago, not last year.
Do you know what that was roughly?
Well, it's over 100 million that watch the game on television. It's more like 125 million around there. That's around the number of people who vote for president. And there's not much a bigger cultural event than that.
It's almost like football is more important than politics in this country sometimes, to some people at least.
A lot of times it is. Sometimes it's just as politics, just as important. Sometimes they mix together, especially the kneeling, like Colin Kaepernick, that story.
Right.
In fact, there's a story with Adam Levine of Maroon 5 this Super Bowl. They're doing the halftime show.
Right.
And so Roger Waters of Pink Floyd has asked Adam to take a knee during the halftime show, but I guarantee he won't.
And I'd agree with you on that.
That's because...
In fact, I'd be willing to bet you 3 joints.
The reason we know that is Adam Levine was born rich. He's part of the establishment. He's too much on their side. Plus, he loves the NFL. He doesn't want to burn a bridge with them. I guarantee he won't be taking a knee, even though I would be maybe, but more as a gesture for peace, not to incite violence or incite any kind of controversy.
Well, taking the knee in the first place was meant to be that way in the first place.
It's meant to be peaceful.
Right. And just that other side just twisted it to make it seem like it was just an attempt to be disrespectful towards the country. And, how can you be like that?
The people that thought that way, that thought Colin Kaepernick was disrespectful, need to smoke a bong.
Oh, yeah, speaking of that, I'm now vaping.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to get high because it's been, I shouldn't say try to get high. I know I'm going to get high because it's been a nice 20-day break for me. But I wanted to talk about... could I talk about this thing about CBS pulling that pot ad? Yet they show all these beer commercials. Well, you know what? I wanted to play that ad first.
Okay, cool.
But let's save that for just a little while from now.
Okay.
Just let me wrap this idea up. I wanted to talk about bongs versus vaping.
Okay.
And I love bongs. And as a matter of fact, I've got my favorite bong with me right now. I'm going to have one more draw of it. A little coughing. And that's the one thing I don't like about bongs.
I got my guitar in case you start coughing too much. I'll just play a song.
And that's one of the reasons I actually prefer vaping. And I wanted to talk about that. Some of the reasons why Greenweaver, your pot buddy, your pot jockey, actually prefers vaping over bud. Even though bud's great. As a matter of fact, it's awesome. But you know what? When I vape, I rarely cough. I also feel like I'm getting every single penny of my investment with a quality vape cartridge. There's virtually no waste. I also feel like you can be stealth with a vape cartridge. It's easy to tuck in your pocket. You can even palm most vape pens like in your hand, and no one's even going to know you have it. Not that you have to worry about it. I mean, pot's legal in California now.
Yes.
And, you're probably not supposed to be smoking it in public, so it's not legal that way. And you really shouldn't be. Maybe on the beach or something.
They don't allow you on the beach.
They don't even...
Not in San Diego.
Well, that's too bad. Not even vaping?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, as long as you're not driving under the influence of marijuana, I don't see why vaping would be a problem because it doesn't bother anyone else. And
you're not really blowing smoke. You're blowing more like steam.
Right, exactly. Vaping it's a lot easier to clean up after a session. As a matter of fact, there's no cleanup necessary at all. You're not going to, you could be in a, throw a party at your house, have family over, or you have your friends over, and you might have 2 or 3 friends that aren't into pot at all, but you can vape right in front of them. They're not going to be bugged by it because it doesn't have that heavy pot smell, and there's no smoke flying around the room. So, that's, again, I think why I prefer vaping.
Yeah, I like smoking better just for the more recreational element of it. However, I like vaping, and I think it is healthier, but I don't think smoking pot is that dangerous to your health. But based on what I've researched, and the government, U.S. government even backs me up on that.
Right. And that's because of all the anti-inflammatories that are in a lot of the cannabinoids. And what are the other reasons? You're the expert.
Well, it has antioxidants. And
right.
You release antioxidants when you smoke marijuana, when you burn cannabis. And those antioxidants fight cancer and all kinds of other diseases. So that's why they prescribe it to cancer patients, more to deal with the side effects of chemo and those other cancer treatment things.
But there's some serious programs where they heavily dose certain patients with cancer patients with, and it's not through smoking or even through edibles, but it's, and I need to do some research on it, but we're talking like 100 times more cannabis than you'd have on a super stoner day.
Wow.
And it's not an edible, and it's not smoking it or vaping it. I don't know how it's administered to the body, but that's a program that's supposed to be helping a lot with cancer patients.
Well, that's true. There's all kinds of different treatments that it's good for, all kinds of ailments that it works for. Where pharma failed, especially in the NFL, the players are demanding marijuana as treatment for that painful injuries that they get from the game. So they're starting to win that battle when for years and years they were punished for it.
Well, as a matter of fact, you know what? Let's play that. Let's go to that news story.
Okay.
And I'll play the audio, but why don't you talk about it a little?
All right.
That PSA, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so, the big game always has a lot of big ads that cost a lot of money. Well, pot just happens to be one of the fastest rising industries right now. And according to CNBC financial comedian, Mad Money host Jim Cramer, pot is going to be the hottest investment of this era. That's what he's saying now.
Wow. And you know what? Wasn't he one of the first to be like on the Apple bandwagon?
Yes, he was.
Right.
He always pumped Apple stock, but not necessarily anything else. And that was one of the few stocks that was consistently up the past decade.
Right. As a matter of fact, if you invested in Apple 10 years ago, you'd be rich now.
Very rich.
At least if you had a big investment.
Yeah. So anyway, the CBS, which is, historically the most liberal TV network.
Right.
And
actually, out of all the major networks, they are the most liberal.
They are, but they're still far to the right of us.
Right.
and they're even, I would think, to the right of the American mainstream as far as the public.
Right, especially our listeners.
Right. And yeah, the younger scene, definitely. The millennials, anyone, our age and younger. I still lump myself with the young people.
And you should, man.
Hey, I'm 56. We're young, okay?
Yeah, and pot keeps you young.
That's right.
And I truly believe that now.
And 40 is the new 21, so we're only like 30-something now.
33, exactly.
So anyway, CBS, appeals to this big audience. And it's, they've had the coolest shows over the years, but this time they got a little bit too old world for my taste. They pulled a Super Bowl ad that basically was just a PSA.
Exactly, which is a public service announcement, and it still is an excellent one. You'll never hear it on the TV now.
Yeah, and you know what? It had nothing to do with a brand name or a store name.
Right.
It wasn't really persuading you to go out and buy anything. It was just giving you the information that marijuana helps autistic patients and so many other patients. Cancer patients. Yeah.
Serious people with serious back injuries. You know what? That's how it's helped me. One of the big things it's done for me is, and as a matter of fact, I think in this PSA there's a gentleman that talks about having like 3 back injuries. Well, I've had 2 in my life, and both of them practically crippled me. And I had surgery even, and that helped a little, but not that much. But ever since discovering cannabis back in January of 2018, I'm able to almost start walking normally. And,
all right. And yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and lots of good things. As a matter of fact, I'm starting a treadmill program. As a matter of fact, I've already started it. I just haven't started videotaping it yet. But that's my next plan, to start videotaping that sometime in the next week or so and uploading it to places like YouTube and maybe Periscope. And what it's going to basically be is me walking on a treadmill, maybe vaping one of my favorite strains. As a matter of fact, right now I'm enjoying a sativa by a company known as Sublime. And I forgot the name of the strain of this sativa in here. But it's good stuff. And I've had about 4 or 5 draws right now. I'm going to have one more real quick while Knight's playing some cool guitar in the background. And I really should videotape these for our YouTube channel. By the way, our YouTube channel, real quick, and I'm already starting to wander off in 20 different directions. But our YouTube channel, by the way, is the Wild World of Weed. And we've got the name. It's all set to go. I just need to upload some videos, and I'm also trying to do that in the next week. So those are my two big projects: to start the YouTube channel with a upload at least 10 videos to it, and also start my treadmill program. And hey, if you're listening to this show right now, I want you to consider joining me for my daily, and I might not do it every single day, but I'm going to do it at least 4 or 5 days a week, my daily treadmill walk where I get high and get fit at the same time. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll call it that. Get high, get fit with Greene Weaver. And anyway, let's finish wrapping up about that PSA, which I want to play in just a second.
I want to ask you, do you think it's fair for the American people to be robbed of that? What I saw was that it was the best thing I had ever seen as a big game commercial. You know?
Yeah, it's an awesome, very respectful little public service announcement / commercial, whatever you want to call it. And I wish we could show the video of it right now. We can't, but maybe I'll try to. The
big irony is that the network has no problem showing these beer ads to millions and millions of kids.
Not only beer ad after beer ad after beer ad.
And not just beer, all kinds of alcohol and junk food.
Right.
And all kinds of
and
shady.
Celebrating, like, this is a party, man, beer. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with having a party and having fun and enjoying life a little. But cannabis versus alcohol.
I'm sorry, cannabis wins.
Cannabis is 100 times safer, if not 1,000 times safer, as far as so many different factors. I mean, you're not going to damage your liver. As a matter of fact, you'll heal your liver with cannabis. And you're not going to be stupid enough, hopefully, to be driving around, like some kind of idiot.
In the rain.
Well, especially in the rain. But, I have a bunch of friends now that smoke cannabis. I know none of them are dumb enough to consume cannabis and go drive.
Right.
Because they're smart.
Right.
Where people that drink alcohol, and I'm not saying this about every single person that drinks alcohol, but maybe I'll say it about most of the people that get drunk on a regular basis. Those people that just can't control their alcohol intake, they don't have as much control. They almost have lizard brains. That's a term that Knight uses all the time.
Yeah, well, I picked it up from psychologists, so I can't say I coined it, but that's where I invented the phrase TV brain, which means that someone's been programmed to think they love or hate something and there's nothing in between. Like it makes you think in black and white even though TV's in color. So I do try to coin phrases, but getting back to pot and that ad that you're talking about, don't you think that should have run just because even though it's for families, like millions of people are going to be watching this, that we're beyond the mythology of cannabis being evil, that it's not. Don't you think it's time for families to even think about this?
No, absolutely, especially if you see and hear this commercial or PSA and you have any common sense, there's no way you're going to think there's anything wrong with it.
Especially when cannabis is helping kids.
Right.
And they're not necessarily smoking it. They're taking it in as edibles or drinking it.
Exactly.
So it's not, forget about the smoke factor if that's what you're worried about out there.
Well, I think the reason probably said CBS decided not to run it is because it's still a Schedule 1. And that's true. That's the real problem in the first place.
That is the problem.
It shouldn't be a Schedule 1.
Right.
It shouldn't be in any schedule.
But you know what? The CEO of the company you're talking about, and are you going to run the ad or his commentary?
No, I'm just going to run the ad only.
But you saw his commentary where he says that he thinks that Schedule 1, that pot will be eliminated from Schedule 1 by the end of 2019.
Of this year.
That's his prediction, the CEO of the company called Acreage Holdings, which owns the company, the cannabis company that was trying to run the ad there for CBS.
Exactly.
For the big game.
Acreage Holdings?
That's right, the name of the company. And by the way, the big game is the Rams are playing the Patriots.
And the Patriots are favored to win by 3 or something like that?
Is that right? I don't even know.
I think so.
I predict the Rams will win.
And I hope the Rams win.
They're our team. They're Southern California. Yay.
well, that also. But also, I don't know. The Patriots have won enough.
Yeah, they win all the time. They lost last year, and people were saying, never bet against Brady, yet look at what happened.
But it's every other year. It seems like he wins, loses, wins, loses.
Well, it hasn't been completely like that, but yeah, he's on and off.
Right. Anyway, well, let's just play the PSA, and then we can talk about it after we hear it.
Right.
And hopefully I can make this work.
Austin would have dozens to hundreds of seizures every single day. None of the prescriptions would work. One pill almost killed our son.
I've had 3 back surgeries, and I was on opioids for 15 years. It was a very dark, very depressive time in my life.
After my injury, I felt like I couldn't live with the pain, but I couldn't live with this treatment long term. It was unbearable.
I don't have to live like that anymore. Medical cannabis saved Austin's life.
Cannabis has given me my life back.
There are families in other states having to watch their children die.
I want to see my brothers and sisters who sacrificed so much for this country have access to the safest treatment possible. This really is an injustice.
It's not just unfair, it's cruel.
Wow. Heavy stuff.
Very. That was one of the most touching things I've ever heard that has ever been part of the big football game every February.
Right. What a shame that was pulled.
Yeah, that's too bad.
And there's probably no chance it's going to happen. Like they'll change their mind sometime by tomorrow.
Did you find anything offensive about that at all?
No, the opposite.
Yeah, I didn't.
I was
either.
Inspired and saddened by some of the words that are used that are very accurate. It's cruel to deny people a chance to feel some well-being in their lives,
especially if they're in deep pain.
Well, especially that, and whether it's mental pain or physical pain. And I swear, I've led a pretty charmed life, and I've said this on other episodes. Even though this is our first official episode of the Wide World of Weed, we did 2 practice episodes last week and the week prior. But on all those episodes, I mentioned. Well, first of all, I'm new to cannabis. Started in January of 2018. I always believed my entire childhood and young adult life and my entire adult life that it's just trouble, nothing good, because that's all I heard. And now that I've tried it, it's helped me lose. Now I've up to 82 pounds that I've lost in the last 6 months, and going to continue to lose more and more weight and get back down to my high school weight is my ultimate goal. And what else?
What did you weigh in high school?
I weighed 145.
Okay.
In high school.
That was more than I weigh now, which is 125 at the most.
But you're skinny.
Yeah, but I've always weighed the same since high school.
That's true. Yeah, actually, I've known Knight since high school. And shall we name that high school, or should we keep that a mystery? It's your call.
I think it's one of the best high schools in Sacramento, where we're from.
Well, it was at the time for sure. It probably still is.
Rio Americano,
right,
on the American River.
Yeah, Rio Americano High, an awesome public high school. I consider myself lucky to be an alumni of that high school.
I also went to John F. Kennedy High before that.
Oh, okay.
But I Rio is where I graduated, and we both had a radio class together.
That's right, the radio class, KRAT. Chuck Gebhardt, our teacher, and one of our original mentors, and taught us a couple important things, basic things, but learned a lot from Mr. Gebhardt.
Right. And, that was the era where a lot of friends of mine were kind of getting high, even the smart people showing up to school and getting high at lunch. And, I would have to say that I loved it because of the feel-good properties of getting high. But my grades didn't get better until I went into college. Then my grades went really higher as I got higher.
Well, that's interesting.
But not initially. Initially, it wrecked my grades. Like I was a B student, I became a C student. But in college, I was mainly an A and B student.
Right on.
Getting high a lot.
I just realized, and real quick, let me do this. The 420 code, 420 just happened about 4 minutes ago.
Okay.
And I forgot to do the 420 code.
Oh, well.
And I'm not going to have enough time to do it right now. But I did want to congratulate last week's winner, Marcus, and he didn't want his last name revealed. Marcus out in Vista. He got the correct word. By the way, the numbers were 252933.
which if you look at your keyboard, your smartphone or your phone pad, that also spells BLAZED. So the word blazed was the secret 420 code. And again, Marcus from Vista was our winner, getting a $20 MedMen gift card. We're going to meet up with him at the local MedMen on Convoy sometime later on. Like I think he said Wednesday was a good day for him. So we're going to meet him there Wednesday afternoon, hand over his gift card. And we're going to do the contest almost each and every week. We're just going to skip this week because...
we just overtalked it.
Well, it's not even that. It's just so much going on.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, part of it is because I haven't gotten high for the past week.
Right.
For the past 20 days. And when I'm not high, life is a bummer. You know, I like getting high at least, once a day if possible. It doesn't have to be every single day, but it just brings a lot of relief, a lot of stress relief, and gets rid of pretty much 99.9% of all my back pain, my knee pain. I got some shoulder arthritis. Guess getting to be an old man. Anyway, we're going to wrap this segment up and be back with, you can keep playing. Knight's playing some tunes. We're about 20 seconds away from a quick commercial break. We'll be back with more Wide World of Weed right here on WSRadio.com, which stands for Weed Smoking Radio, and that's what we do with the weed. Another draw on the vape pen. I'm starting to feel a little buzzed, feeling great, and we'll have more talk coming your way right here on WSRadio.com. So stay tuned. And thank you very much for listening.
A world without children? A world without their smiles or their laughter? A world where children don't play or sing or dream or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we can't imagine a world without children. That's why we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children everywhere. Diseases like cancer, pediatric AIDS, and sickle cell. And we won't stop until every child is cured and every disease is defeated. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
You were born to do one amazing thing, but most people spend a lifetime trying to identify what it is. If you're in a job you don't like or are unemployed, if you're in a state of transition or just can't shake that nagging feeling that you were meant and made to do something extraordinary, then the Reinvention Workshop is exactly what you need. Led by award-winning self-help author Steve Olsher, the Reinvention Workshop will forever change your life. The Reinvention Workshop takes you step by step through Steve's proven formula that has helped so many people get on the right path and clear about what they were born to do. Take the first step to realizing the life you deserve and desire by visiting thereinventionworkshop.com today. No more delays. No more denial. Reconnect with your true self. Learn to live with purpose and conviction and become who you were born to be. The world is waiting for you. What are you waiting for? Log on to thereinventionworkshop.com today. That's thereinventionworkshop.com.
Oh yeah, pot buddies. Have another hit of sweet air as the wide world of weed continues with your pot jockeys, Greene Weaver and Night Tripper on WSRadio.com.
Yeah, you know what? The Wide World of Weed is a sky-high Dreammaker production. Big thanks going out to Dreammaker. Yeah, the Dreammaker is making this all happen, making this all possible for us and for you, the listener, and we do appreciate you listening. Night, you have your guitar handy?
Uh-huh.
Okay, well, just stand by to play whenever you feel like it. But
all right.
What do you want to talk about this segment?
Well, let's still bring up, since it's the big NFL championship.
Oh, that's
weekend.
true. And since this is our Sativa Bowl edition.
That's right.
In fact, let me have another hit of that sweet, sweet sativa.
I just want to bring up again, we mentioned it in our pilot show last week that got buried into history, that Joe Montana of the San Francisco 49ers, he is a big pot investor now. And he believes, that pot can help get people off the opioid crisis started by the pharma biz.
Wow. Well, right on, Joe.
Yeah, so Joe's a champ. I mean, I would look at him as a role model, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, isn't he like one of the greatest, in the top 10 greatest quarterbacks of all time? Kinda?
Ever. I mean, for a while they said he was number one, but then Brady won more Super Bowls.
Oh, okay.
Like Joe won 3 Super Bowl rings.
Oh, wow.
And then, I worked for a Super Bowl champ, Willie Davis.
That was in Wisconsin?
That's right. When I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I ran the station WLUM. And Willie played in the first 2 Super Bowls for the Green Bay Packers. So that's my claim to football fame.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you know what my claim to football fame is?
What's that?
I've actually tossed the ball back and forth twice. Of course, the same 10-second period with Mr. Joe Montana himself.
Yeah, you told me that. Back in the 80s, right?
Very late 80s, early 90s. I forgot exactly.
In other words, that was his heyday when he was
winning
winning
Super
Bowls.
I don't think he was still playing.
Well, he was playing till the early 90s for the Niners. Then he went to Kansas City, where his career ended. But he actually, he is considered, in the 80s, he was considered the top quarterback.
Right.
And so that's cool that you got to, and that was through radio, right?
Right. That was a station called 97 Croy that I worked for.
Okay. One of the promotions, you get to meet all these celebrities when you're in radio.
That's true. And I think one of the Niners actually opened some kind of restaurant / sports bar in Roseville.
Right. That might have been...
I forgot his name, actually.
Butts was his name.
Oh, maybe.
Might have been. Or Buns, Danny Buns.
That sounds right for some reason. It's weird. I mean, I used to really enjoy football, but for some reason a lot of those names have slipped through my...
there's so many names. It's like on Yahoo every day, they'll list trending names, and you're like, who are these people? Well, football, it just grinds through name after name, like long lists of football players.
Right. It's almost worse than music.
Well,
I can name all the members of the Rolling Stones. I can name all the members of the Beatles. I can name all the members of Led Zeppelin, all the members of Pink Floyd, on and on.
But not all the members of the New England Patriots who make way more money than most of them.
That's true. I can probably only name 2 or 3.
And they make more money than most movie stars, too.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, even the players on the Rams.
Wow.
So,
well, speaking of the Rams, who are you thinking?
Well, I told you, Rams.
You said the Rams? I'm stoned now.
My nickname's Cosperdamus, and I picked Rams in week 3 to win, just because they had the most net points at that time.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, you posted that on your Facebook page, I believe.
Right. And remember, everyone says never bet against Brady. Well, I don't bet with money, but last year I picked the Eagles to beat the Patriots, and they did. They upset them.
Oh, right on, man. Anyway, let's talk some cannabis again. Let's see, what do we want to talk about? You know what? I'm starting to get buzzed, starting to get high, starting to feel good. And whenever I'm feeling really high, I start realizing that I'm feeling things that I haven't felt for years. You know, back in your 20s, at least personally experiencing in my early 20s, I used to feel really vibrant. You know, I used to feel, I don't know, just strong, young, all that stuff. And pot kind of makes me feel that way. And as a matter of fact, it makes me feel lots of ways. And I want to maybe just list some of those ways just off the top of my head. And then Knight, if you want to maybe list some of the ways that pot makes you feel during a really decent high, then maybe we can just alternate and take turns.
Sure.
And I'll just start by saying marijuana often makes me feel lifted.
Makes me feel gifted.
It makes me feel driven.
It makes me feel buzzed.
Right on, me too. Makes me feel wonderful.
Makes me feel aware.
All right, man. Makes me feel more focused.
It makes me feel inventive.
Makes me feel creative.
Makes me feel exploratory.
It makes me feel free.
It makes me feel like the fool on the hill.
It makes me feel like the other fool on the hill.
It makes me feel like the ELO song that goes higher and higher, baby.
It's a living thing. Well, that's a great song. You know, Jeff Lynne has to be a pot smoker.
He's got to be.
I've never heard him talk about it, but there's no way he's not.
The Beatles were, and that was his favorite group.
Right, and you know what? It's the bands that were really into cannabis are the coolest bands of the 60s and 70s.
Totally.
Whether
Even
it's Led Zeppelin
or one-hit wonders like Canned Heat.
Oh, yeah. Except, you know what? They might have been a one-hit wonder on the Billboard mainstream charts, but they had a lot of great songs.
Okay, I didn't realize they had a deeper sound.
They have about 10 songs that station in Sacramento that used to play classic rock back in the days. Can we say the name?
Go for it.
The Legend of K-Zap. Yeah, K-Zap. Man, they used to play 5 or 6 songs by them.
You know, K-Zap's still online. It's not the same K-Zap, but a lot of the same jocks from that era.
Right. And some of the same music, but they're like more bluesy now. Yeah. And they don't play like, there's a lot of stuff they should play that they don't play.
K-zap.org.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we just promoted another website, but you know what?
But you know what? They're also a radio station in Sacramento because it's a low-power radio station you can get downtown.
Yeah, and I think their call letters for that is KZHP.
Okay.
Because someone else grabbed KZAP somewhere else in America, and there can never be frequencies that have the same call letters. That's
an FCC rule. That's another way where government controls what you hear.
Anyway, pot also makes me feel vibrant. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel awesome. And, you know, I just think of every positive word you can think of, and I'm telling you, that's what cannabis can do for you. And one of the people we'd love to reach and get to start listening to our show. And if you're listening to this show right now and you have maybe your mom or dad are in their 60s or even their 70s and they've never smoked cannabis and maybe they're feeling some pain or just kind of ground down, and you know, the older you get, the easier it is to get ground down and feel tired. Well, maybe introduce cannabis to them. And that's, of course, if you're already cool with cannabis in the first place. And if you're not, well, you know what? Maybe you should explore a little. And there's a lot of great dispensaries in the San Diego area. MedMen is one that we often visit. We love them. Mankind Cooperative, a great dispensary. The SDRC, we like them. The Outliers in El Cajon, we like them. There's a couple in the Valley Center area that we love. As a matter of fact, Sam, we been to a Valley Center dispensary about 4 or 5 times in the last month or two, and Romy, real nice bud tender that works there, and Sam, she's a really nice sweetheart of a bud tender, and she hooked both Knight and I up last night. We swung by, and I got a couple different strains, like 1 gram of this and another gram of that, and I got 5 different grams of 5 different strains. And one of the ones, I haven't tried it yet, cherry pie. But I think, Knight, didn't you get some cherry pie yourself?
Yes, I did. That was recommended by Sam, who you were talking about, the bud tender.
And have you tried it yet?
It was awesome. Yeah, I liked it. She told me it was better than, was it called Amnesia?
Oh, Amnesia Haze.
Amnesia
Which
Haze.
was pretty good.
Yeah, that was decent. Both sativas.
Right, but you think the cherry pie was even better.
I like it.
Well, I'm looking forward to trying it.
I don't know how I compare them, but I do like it, and maybe probably better than the other one.
Well, cool.
So, and she was cool. She likes the group Korn.
Well, they're not a bad band.
I think they're very innovative, actually. And Quad was an early believer in them back in the 90s when I was programming the station.
And you know what? I forgot the members' names. As a matter of fact, why don't you play a little music and talk about Korn a little, and I'll be back in 10 seconds or so.
All right.
Or actually more like 30, but...
All right. I'm just kind of noodling on guitar, creating background themes for this show, The Wide World of Weed, which is every Saturday afternoon from 3 to 4 p.m. We broadcast live from the studios of WS Radio. Like Sam was saying, that stands for Weed Smoking Radio, at least for this hour that we're on. And Greene Weaver is the designer of this show. Dream Maker allows us to have it on this presentation, this platform. And I'm Knight Ritter, and sometimes...
Knight Ritter?
I'm sorry. That was the name of a newspaper chain. I'm Knight... what am I? Knight Tripper.
You're more stoned than me.
I forget my own fake name sometimes. Knight, I'm sorry. I was thinking Jack Tripper, Knight Ritter.
John Ritter, Jack Tripper.
Day Tripper. It just all, was a kaleidoscope of things merged together.
And now I'm super confused, but I wanted to talk about Korn again.
Yeah. Okay.
And I forgot which member. Some of the members, James Monkey Schaefer plays rhythm guitar for that band. Reginald Arvazoo, I think, on bass. Brian Head Welsh, lead guitar and backing vocals. And I think that's the gentleman that I'm talking about. Jonathan Davis, of course, part of that band. And let me see if it's... I think it's Brian. That guy's been like a member of Korn, I think, from the very early days. And he had some serious problems with hard drugs.
Really?
Recently. In fact,
a lot of rockers do, unfortunately.
And I wish I could remember the type of drug, like an opioid type drug. Just something along that lines, and then some heroin possibly, and just that bad stuff. And now I feel weird saying that stuff's bad, but it is.
It is bad.
And marijuana's not.
Right. It's not. They're both in Schedule 1, though, which is the big, big, bad problem that holds pot back from, really helping a lot more people.
It just creates so much confusion because, if you think that, okay, I hear that heroin's bad, and it is, but I also hear that pot is bad, but it isn't.
Not. It's
and
not
the
even close.
Only way you can know for sure, and this sounds like a scam artist would be pulling this trick. The only way you can know is to try it, man. but that's the God honest truth.
But you can't be trying heroin to compare that. That's stupid.
I'm talking about marijuana only.
Right, but people have been misled by this really old world prank that pot is a gateway to heroin. You know why that's not true, and there's a proven confirmation that that's a freaking lie.
Well, I want to hear exactly why in 5 seconds, but I just want to say I'm an example why not.
Why?
Well, but because I've been on cannabis now for 13 months, and I have zero desire. As a matter of fact, I have less desire to try anything like LSD or heroin or crack or cocaine or anything like that. I have zero desire.
Right.
It's not a gateway. It's a gate shutter.
And you know what proves that? The fact that most people have tried cannabis,
right?
Cannabis. Do I sound like I'm on it?
Absolutely.
Most people most people have tried cannabis, whereas most people, not even 10% have tried heroin, way less than 10%.
And I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah,
I wish it was way less.
So if it were a gateway drug, wouldn't it be like a majority have also tried heroin?
Yeah, wouldn't at least half the people that tried cannabis have tried it? And the numbers don't add up. Man, that's a great point.
Yeah, so that's how I know for a fact it's not a gateway drug. And myself, I've I've loved pot since the late 70s. It's never made me want to try heroin or any of that other stuff, partly because I believe in self-preservation. I believe in social responsibility. Everybody here influences others besides themselves. So you have to realize you don't want to mislead others. You don't want to become a junkie and be a poor role model for society or your circle of friends.
Right. Anyway, you know what? Our YouTube channel, I want to talk about that again real quick. We have a YouTube channel which will officially launch in the next 10 days or less. Just talking about it now, hoping that you do tune in or whatever it's called on the internet. You just go to YouTube, find our YouTube channel called The Wild World of Weed. And we've already made a bunch of videos, at least 15 to 20, and we're going to try to upload at least an additional 2 or 3 a week, every week from now on. But these videos are outrageous. A lot of fun. Goofy songs that Knight will make up off the top of his head, and I'll join in. In fact, let's make a song up right now.
You got it.
What should it be about? Maybe about the Supreme Sativa Bowl experience of how cannabis can make you want to play 3D football.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
Well, I'm coming up with a new game called 3D Sports.
Well,
it encompasses 3D football and 3D baseball and 3D basketball and 3D bowling and all kinds of other 3D sports.
3D billiards even, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't 3D mini golf. You don't have to be a hardcore athlete to enjoy 3D sports.
The reason it's 3D is because 3 players are involved.
Yeah, and every version of 3D sports, it's always... Can it be more than 3, or does it always have to be 3 exactly?
It can be 3 more than 3.
3 or more.
It could be any amount, actually, but 3 is the minimum.
Okay. And it's also the third dimension sometimes of pot. That's right. Part of it, but only to our secret society here on the wide world of weed.
And the whole point of it is to make safer sports for both males and females.
Right.
And you know how the, football, NFL excludes women except as cheerleaders.
Exactly.
And reporters, for the networks.
Right.
But the vision I have is to take all the old world stuff out of it, let both genders be involved with a game, but make the game safer, so that nobody gets hurt. And the way to do that is to make it a no-contact sport and just throw the ball to each other and come up with rules for that, for 3 people throwing the ball around to each other.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And then instead of cannabis used as a medicine to help the injured, which it should be used for that, and that's part of that PSA that we were talking about earlier, but instead of the cannabis using to heal, cannabis can be used in advance prior to playing to inspire and to make you more creative while you're playing and to give you an extra boost of energy and just to make the game more fun. Because you know what? When you have more fun in life, just everything gets better, and cannabis can help you have more fun in a good way. And that's the important thing we're going to try to talk about a lot on this show on a regular basis is cannabis doesn't make you stupid.
Nah, it can if you're already stupid.
If you're already stupid, it makes you more of whatever you already are.
Yeah, right.
So if you're smart, it's just going to make you a little smarter. If you're strong, it's going to make you a little stronger. If you're dumb, it's going to make you, sadly, a little dumber.
Yeah.
But we don't want to discourage dumb people from trying cannabis.
It could help you become smarter if you really focus.
Because it can reassign kind of the neurons in your brain and create new pathways and maybe inspire you to explore some new pathways and maybe learn some new things that you didn't know before. And who knows, a year from now, you could actually erase your dumbness and become a little smarter, and all thanks to that wonderful thing, that wonderful medicine known as marijuana.
Yeah.
Also known as My Medicine by Willie and Snoopy.
I love that song. I was thinking of that earlier as the best song of this century.
And you know what? I have to agree.
Snoop Dogg.
I love that record.
Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson doing My Medicine. Awesome record.
And speaking of music, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be adding music to our little radio show here known as The Wide World of Weed.
Besides our background music.
Well, yeah, we're actual records and songs. We're going to play them, and that's going to be in association with WS Radio. I need to raise this mic up higher. I need to fix the microphone stand, but I'm too stoned to do it right now. Anyway, Wide World of Weed, going to be followed by a show called Groove 420, and that might not happen for another 3 or 4 weeks. Working on it. It's a big project, but it's super cool. Pop-themed and party-themed music mixed together in a super groovy format, unlike anything you've ever heard before on the internet or especially on terrestrial radio. And it's, again, going to be a 3-hour music show called Groove 420, and that's coming soon right here to WSRadio.com. And speaking of radio shows, there's all sorts of great shows on WSRadio.com, especially a brand new show known as Social Music Talk.
Yeah.
And that happens actually right before this show. Every Saturday, you can hear Social Music Talk, hosted by Alex Cosper, from 3 to 4 p.m. California time, practically each and every Saturday, unless circumstantial things happen.
But you know what? I'm already developing a calendar of guests for that, so we have several coming up. And when I say I'm a big planner of that show.
Right, of course.
So I love the fact you're bringing it up because these two shows go together, pot and music.
And they always have, and they always should.
Yeah.
And what we would love to see happen sometime in the next decade or less is for music, especially music played on the radio, to get better again.
Yeah.
You know, the music industry, you would think that it sucks because when you listen to the radio, it sounds like it sucks. And that's because a lot of bands and new artists kind of do suck.
Because they let too much noise into their music, and I'd rather personally hear the noise of my engine than the noise of that generic music.
Right.
But however, I just want to say one thing. There are good records still, and like you just mentioned one, Snoop Dogg and Willie Nelson, but that was over a decade ago.
Right.
There's still a great record for this century, and there's newer stuff that's even, just as cool, but it doesn't get played a lot on the radio.
And a lot of people don't know that song. So it's almost like you could bring My Medicine back and start playing it on the radio right now.
Yep.
Especially now that cannabis is legal and cool. And people go, wow, what's this great record? And it'd be a new record.
And you know what? What's really cool about it? It mixes a lot of styles in a way that's naturally... You know, it's rock, it's pop, it's soul, it's blues, it's
a little of everything.
Yeah, it's got some rap in it. It's a little bit, but it's like a mix of all kinds of styles, and they just do it without being cheese like so many. Like when some old-fashioned rocker gets together with some new country young artist who's hot-looking, and they're trying to do it because of marketing purposes.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about with Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg.
Well, that's because they're both super talented, and they're both just natural.
Right.
They just do their thing, and they're not being told, you have to sound like this, you have to do it this way. They're just doing it their way.
Right.
And because they're high and stoned, it just comes out great.
And they're a great team. I mean, they're both on the same team of being part of the pot society.
And I know this is a big dream, a big-ass dream, but Willie, Snoop, if either of you ever hear this show, I don't care if it's in 2 weeks from now or 2 years from now, contact us at...
we'll let you on.
wideworldofweed@gmail.com. Send us an email, and hey, we'll fly you in even. We'll pay for your plane tickets to get here to be on our show, and we'd love to meet you and be inspired by some of your words of wisdom. Anyway, we're about ready to wrap the show, but we got about another minute and a half or so. What do you want to wrap it up with, Knight?
Well, we got the big game tomorrow, which will be February 3rd.
Right.
And I only bring that name up to keep this content evergreen, meaning that whenever you listen to it, you'll have a reference of when it was made.
Oh, that's true.
And it'll never get old because of that, because we're,
historically documenting facts in a appropriate manner, I guess.
And we are your news source for weed because we're tracking it. We got the news stories. We could tell you
speaking of news
financial stories about
really
it.
Cool. A new guest will be joining our show in the next couple weeks.
Really?
A news guy will be doing our news by the name of Walter Cronick.
Cool.
So you can look forward to...
And is he going to tell us about the news and how that's the way it was?
Well, that's the way it should be.
Okay.
Anyway. Well, Knight, it's been a blast. It's been a fun show. I'm feeling great. Got a tiny buzz on. I'm surprised I'm not a little higher, but you know what? I'm glad I'm not, because I'm going to sit here for about another half hour, let this kind of wear off, and then get on the road and head on home. And we'll be back next Saturday for another edition of The Wide World of Weed right here on WSRadio.com, which stands for Weed Smoking Radio. And, of course, remember, Social Music Talk Happens from 3 to 4 right here on the very same network, Weed Smoking Radio. And what else do we got to say? I guess nothing else, but stay high.
Have a fun weekend.
Enjoy the game, and please come back next week for more fun on the Wide World of Weed. And also, be looking for our YouTube channel known as the Wild World of Weed. That's coming very soon.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world without their smiles or their laughter? A world where children don't play or sing or dream or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we can't imagine a world without children. That's why we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children everywhere. Diseases like cancer, pediatric AIDS, and sickle cell. And we won't stop until every child is cured and every disease is defeated. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website, stjude.org.
I raised $8,000 to build schools for South African children. After realizing how many people go hungry in San Diego, I now volunteer at a food pantry.
I'm spending the next year doing volunteer projects across 3 countries and helping in ways they designate to be the most helpful.
The World Link program at the Joan B. Kroc Institute for Peace and Justice recognizes the potential of youth as agents of social change. Learn how you can help youth become a generation of leaders in action at peace.sandiego.edu.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
You were born to do one amazing thing, but most people spend a lifetime trying to identify what it is. If you're in a job you don't like or are unemployed, if you're in a state of transition or just can't shake that nagging feeling that you were meant and made to do something extraordinary, then the Reinvention Workshop is exactly what you need. Led by award-winning self-help author Steve Olsher, the Reinvention Workshop will forever change your life. The Reinvention Workshop takes you step by step through Steve's proven formula that has helped so many people get on the right path and clear about what they were born to do. Take the first step to realizing the life you deserve and desire by visiting the reinventionworkshop.com today. No more delays. No more denial. Reconnect with your true self. Learn to live with purpose and conviction and become who you were born to be. The world is waiting for you. What are you waiting for? Log on to the reinventionworkshop.com today. That's the reinventionworkshop.com.